So on today's podcast, we have our first in-person guest, which is my brother. If you can see the resemblance, he's a D1 wrestler at Brown University. He's obviously a freshman going into a sophomore year. And yeah, he's been just like my older brother too, if you didn't know. He also wrestled D1, so they're doing pretty similar things. I think he's majoring in economics there. And yeah, so you can introduce yourself more if you want. That's about it.
That's good.
That's about it. Yeah.
So it's episode 9.
Episode
yeah,
9,
season 3,
probably.
episode 9. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, no, we kind of want to just like interview you, find out your whole story, because I mean it's pretty great. You know, like you've done some pretty good things so far. So I guess where should we start? Should we start? Is there like a beginning? Like how'd you start wrestling? I guess.
I think Andrew actually started with me. We both started when we were around 7 or 8.
Yeah.
I mean, we were always in the room since we were 4 because around my older brother. So we'd go to practice with my dad. But we didn't start wrestling until we were around 8 or 9.
Yeah, a little bit past like probably second grade, third grade.
Something like that. And it was rough at the beginning. You know, I think my first season, like I can remember, I won maybe 3 matches. And Andrew can attest to this, and so we got our asses kicked.
Yeah.
It was kind of a rough adjustment, but you know, I stuck out this season and ended up coming back for another year. And then it started, you know, I just started to flourish. I started to get a lot better. I got a lot bigger. So I was in like the smaller weight classes when I was younger, and then I got bigger. So a little bit worse wrestling, but I started to feel better about myself. And then I would say probably my growth was pretty steady until I would say 7th or 8th grade. And then in 8th grade, I got pulled up to varsity. And I started at, I think, 145, but I was weighing about 132 because I couldn't beat the 2 kids at 132 and 138.
Okay.
So I was giving up a lot of weight. That year, I made a lot of growth. I started wrestling, you know, I guess smarter because I was wrestling stronger kids. I was wrestling older kids as an 8th grader wrestling. I mean, I wrestled a lot of seniors that year.
Okay, yeah.
It was difficult. And then I ended up making it to counties that year. I took 3rd in the league, and I think I went 0-1 at counties. I had a tough senior.
Okay. Yeah.
Ended up losing. I vaguely remember the match. I remember I think I lost by 1 or 2. And it was a bad call, but I mean, it's my 8th grade year. I wasn't gonna lose sleep over it. 9th grade, I moved up to 160, and I was weighing 160, so I gained roughly 25 pounds from 8th grade to 9th grade.
Did you grow, or did you just get more muscle?
I got taller, but definitely more muscular.
Yeah, because you were a lot shorter than me. In 8th grade, I had like 6 inches on you, and then you closed the gap to like 3 or 4. Yeah, and you also just put on mass.
Yeah. So I ended up. So that year was a lot better. I actually ended up breaking my big toe in the middle of the season, so I had to take a month off from. So I didn't wrestle from I think December until mid-December, and then I didn't wrestle again till the start of February when leagues and counties started. So I ended up winning the league, and then I took 5th at counties.
Okay.
I made it to the county semis, and ended up losing, and then I lost again. But that year was nice, but I mean, looking back at it, I wasn't as good as I thought I was. And I think that's the one thing that I think college has brought me to. That, I mean, I could go through the rest of my years, but it doesn't really matter. I think the level of intensity at the college level is absurd. Like, I can't remember the last time that I wrestled one match and I couldn't go again. Like, when we go to tournaments, like, I wrestle one match and I'm like, I'm done for the day. Yeah. I used to wrestle 5 or 6 and like, I'm still good to go.
Is it just because the opponents are that much better, or it's?
Yeah, it's a mix. So it's actually, in high school, it's a 2-minute. So it's a 3 period match. In college, it's 3-2-2.
Okay.
And then obviously everyone is really good at the college level. Everyone's a state champion or at minimum a state placer. And they don't care about what you're doing. They're gonna beat the shit out of you. There's no other better way to explain it.
So wait, I guess like junior and senior year, you had of high school, you had some success, right? So
I had a lot more success in those years. My 10th grade year was kind of a wake-up call. I ended up taking 6th in the county. I was one spot lower than I was the year before.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of thinking about quitting.
Okay.
I was getting looks for lacrosse, and I was like, you know what, maybe that's my avenue. But I talked to my older brother, I talked to my dad, and I'm like, you know what, like I've wrestled for all my life. Even if I'm not going to do it in college, I'm going to finish out my high school career. And I ended up beating the start of my junior year. I beat a state placer, 3 state placers in the matter of like a span of 2 weeks. And then I won the league again. I took 2nd at counties. I lost to the returning state champion.
Okay.
By 1.
Yeah, that was Moriello, right?
Yeah. That was a tough match.
That was a good match, but he was stalling at the end of that.
Yeah.
I hated watching that.
I also just wrestled horrible. I kind of just, I think
you're wrestling a little scared in that match.
Yeah, I wrestled completely scared.
Which is understandable, but he's also a returning state champ, and it's kind of a name that you hear, like even I hear. It's one of the names I know, and the names that I know are like that means you're pretty good because I don't know everyone.
And he's just a freak athlete. He's actually playing running back at Stony Brook.
Oh damn! Okay.
Yeah, so he's
kind of like multiple sports, just big dude, like good,
huge.
Yeah. Okay. So was he just trying to like tire you out then?
Pretty much. So I hate to say this was a bad call on the refs, but I was actually riding him out for all of the second period. We went into the second period 0-0. He picked bottom. I rode him out for about a minute and a half. Ref blows the whistle. He went early. I thought he went early, so I thought the ref blew the whistle because it was early.
Okay.
We go up to our feet. He takes me down. It's 3-0 in a matter of 5 seconds. And then I ended up losing the match 3-2.
That's rough. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the grand scheme of things, I take that as like I guess a.
You still got the states
lesson.
that year, right?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, you came
fifth. Fourth at states that year, and then you came second the next year, right?
Yeah, I ended up. So it was pretty funny. For the state seeding, I was like the 4th alternate, but then I ended up being the 2 seed at states. Because I beat everyone that year. I just had no prior placings at state or above 5th.
Isn't the system like really stupid where like you get like points or something for
so they changed it up actually.
Okay.
So now Suffolk County and Nassau County, since we're so dominant at the state tournament,
if you're second,
we have 3 automatic qualifiers.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you're second in Nassau or Suffolk, like you're gonna be top 5 in states probably.
Yeah, that's because
they're just so
other
much
than
better.
like some weight classes, but that's
you have your Yanni and you have like all those kind of guys from other sections that are going to be nuts, but that's not the norm.
If you guys don't know who Yanni Diakmahalis is, he's a 3-time national champion.
Okay.
Did you go to Cornell or something?
Yeah, still at Cornell.
How'd you know that?
One more year.
I don't know. I feel like there was like one time I turned on TV and I watched like college wrestling, and it was one of the most interesting experiences of my entire life.
Yeah, he won nationals as a redshirt
true freshman.
Oh, true freshman.
True freshman.
Wow, he's disgusting.
As an 18-year-old, he won nationals.
Yeah.
Wait, like college nationals?
Yeah.
NCAA.
Oh, shit.
He is absurd.
He's like one of the best wrestlers.
He's actually I might be going to. It's a thing called Final X. It's our world team trials.
Okay.
But they like to broadcast it for like USA Wrestling so we can get more people to go. It's actually in New York City. They do it outside in Madison Square. Oh no, they do it in what's the big street? Times Square. They do it in the middle of Times Square.
Downey did that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that was a different event. That was Beat the Streets, but
wait, so it's just a bunch of wrestling matches in the middle of Times Square?
Yeah, they have like an elevated stage and everyone watches. It's awesome.
Sick. That's awesome.
Yeah. So
and you also went to Vegas recently, right?
I went to the U.S. Open.
But I mean, we'll get to that because we
Yeah.
haven't really talked about your your college year this year.
Yeah, I guess we'll talk
Obviously.
about my, senior year.
Yeah,
was
senior
kind
year
of-
we should probably go through because that was an interesting year with COVID.
Yeah,
and-
I just want to know, like, when, like, in your, like, high school career, did you know that, like, you wanted to wrestle in college? Like, when you started getting offers, or you always had that idea?
To be completely honest with you, I wanted to play both sports, and I actually had the opportunity to, but I realized how hard wrestling was. But I guess it was my senior year when I actually ended up beating the number 3 kid in the nation at my weight, and I was like, oh shit, like I'm good enough to wrestle in college. It was actually past the point when I already committed, but it was kind of that wake up call that I'm like, I actually can make an indent. I'm not just going to go here to get my education. But I mean, I always knew I wanted to wrestle in college. my older brother wrestled, and I always kind of compared us. Like I compared myself to him, and it was like, if he could do it, I can do it. That type of thing. And Nick Piccinini was also always a big role model for me. So.
Yeah, if you don't know who Nick Piccinini is, he's probably the best wrestler. He's the best wrestler to come out of War Melville. He's 4-time state champ. He's like James is like 3rd,
Wait,
4th.
Yeah.
the sandwich is Seaport.
What?
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
the
a
sandwich is
Piccinini,
so
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
Piccinini.
Piccinini.
Yeah.
That's how you know you've made
And
it from
he-
Three
he-
Village.
he
You
won
got a
nationals.
Seaport.
No, he didn't win
sandwich.
nationals.
I thought he
He's a
won-
3-time All-American. 2 or 3-time All-American. He's now fighting in MMA.
Yeah, he's fighting MMA now.
Yeah.
He's had like 1 or 2 matches.
He's
so far.
2-0 right
Yeah, he's
now.
2-0, which is kind of expected being a
Being a wrestler, I feel like that's the easiest. Like,
Transition.
I don't know. I just feel like if you get guys to the ground and you're wrestling a boxer,
You're-
you're gonna
they're
win.
Yes,
Like,
you're
especially a guy like Piccinini. You know.
Yeah, even jujitsu, like he's
My
a monster.
my coach is I actually know 2 people in MMA pretty closely. Caitlin Shukagan, who is the number 2 at flyweight for women's. She was a great wrestler. Her coach or her husband is actually my coach. So
Yeah. And he's
I've
also
wrestled with her a couple times. She's definitely choked me out. That I
damn.
don't like to admit it, but yeah. And then my other coach was Gregor Gillespie, and he's in the MMA national champion for wrestling. He was actually undefeated until he fought Kevin Lee, and Kevin Lee took a knee to the face from Kevin Lee, knocked out immediately.
yeah.
Oh my God.
That's
But
understandable.
yeah, I mean, it's definitely the smoothest transition. I mean, you watch Khabib or any of those guys fight. I mean, Khabib's probably one of the best wrestlers in the MMA. Or not anymore. He's retired, but he
Yeah.
got to the ground.
I don't know wrestlers. You're throwing out names, and I just don't know.
Well,
what
no,
it
Khabib is like pretty much the best MMA fighter,
Okay.
arguably.
He's-
I
I
He's
think
the guy that shut up Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He made Conor McGregor go loco, like
Yeah.
fucking insane.
Yeah.
Okay.
'Cause he lost.
There's a couple other guys that are doing really well. Colby Covington, he's I've actually met him. He's an Oregon State wrestler. He was an
cool.
All-American. A couple other guys that are slipping my mind right now. Yeah, I'm not gonna say with authority, but
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely the smoothest transition. Because Henry Cejudo, he was a great wrestler, Olympic champion.
Oh damn.
He was an MMA UFC champion. Like he's a beast. But yeah, I think it's the smoothest transition. Askren, another great wrestler. Ben Askren.
Wait, so I'm very curious to know, where was your head at when you were going from, high school, knowing you were great, then to college where it's like all these great wrestlers? I mean, obviously you're doing very well, but like
I knew I
before
was
you
gonna get my ass kicked.
that you expected that?
So I think it's the luxury of having an older brother that went through it. I think my brother had more accolades in college or in high school, but I've always felt like I was more college ready because of the way I wrestled.
Okay.
But I mean, he went in. I mean, he didn't start his first year, and then even when he was starting his sophomore year, he got beat up. And I mean, he went through a lot of concussions, but I mean, he was undersized, but it's a huge jump.
Yeah. For him, it's a little bit different, but because his was
went
more of the
one up
jump
weight.
from going to 285, where he's not a 285 pounder, but still, it's like it's a new skill gap. It's a new way of doing kind of everything.
Yeah.
It's just a new mentality, and it's also probably a lot more pressure than high school, where if you lose, you lose. Like, okay, like that's your ego's hurt. But in college, you could lose your spot. You could lose, I mean, for you at least, you don't lose your scholarship if you're garbage. But if you're at like a UNC or something, like you could lose your scholarship.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest struggle with a lot of kids. I mean, I see it with so many people, honestly, even with my girlfriend. Like,
Yeah.
they're pushing themselves so hard for the wrong reasons, which sometimes it works out, and then other times when you start failing, you just completely it's just a downward spiral where
it's not positive reinforcement, it's fear.
And I think it's like the give and take with the Ivies, because as a wrestler, like, you're only really worried about, or any Ivy League athlete, you're only really worried about losing your spot. You're not worried about losing your scholarship because they don't offer scholarships. But I think the biggest, at least with wrestling, the inability to redshirt is so difficult, because you come in, and I mean, I came in this year. Thankfully, I started, which was a positive and a negative, I guess, at the beginning. I started doing well at the end of the season, but beginning of the season, I came out against Purdue. We wrestled Purdue. Wrestled a kid who was 26. He's older than my older brother, who graduated college in 2020.
Jeez.
And I got my ass kicked.
Really?
Like, whenever I can't explain the feel I've felt. Like, I've never felt someone so strong. I wrestle with my coach, who's a 4-time All-American, and he doesn't go fully hard on me, but that strength that I felt.
The 26 is your peak, pretty much.
Yeah, I
as
know.
a male.
Seriously,
yeah.
Like, he's literally
That is.
at his peak, and he's a fucking unit of a person.
And I mean, like, the match wasn't horrible. Like, I came out, I stopped the shot, I got in. We got into a little scramble. He took me down. But I think the two biggest things when you get to college wrestling, and Andrew will understand it. It's kind of hard if you don't really understand wrestling. It's the hand fighting. Everyone's stronger. Everyone knows what they're doing, and then it's getting out on bottom. I think luckily I only got ridden out one time this year, but it ended up being the match to end up placing at my conference tournament.
Is that that was yeah. Okay.
EIWA's is Eastern Intercollegiate Wrestling Association. So it's our conference. We don't have an Ivy League conference for wrestling. It's actually, it's kind of like the Patriot League. I guess the Big East.
It's like American East for running.
American East, yes, and the Ivy League combined. So there's about 17 or 18 teams. We're the biggest conference in wrestling.
Okay.
But yeah, so there's a lot of teams, but
Wait, so you that was the match in that conference or to get to the conference?
I made conference. Well, so
Okay.
conference tournaments, everyone makes it. If you're
Gotcha.
a starter.
Okay.
So once you're the starter, I ended up getting like the 12 seed or something. I got a bad seed, but I was actually, so I wrestled a kid that I wrestled at the beginning of the season. Got pinned in the first period by him. I was up 6-2 in the first period against this kid.
Okay.
Ended up losing 9-8 in the last seconds. I actually took him down, and he got out with 1 second left.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so it
so-
would have tied then?
We would have gone to OT.
Okay.
And I
okay.
felt, I felt confident on my feet. I probably would have. I took him down 4 times that match, so I'm assuming I would have beaten him.
Yeah, James is the best on his feet. If you can't tell, that's probably his best position.
And then I guess we'll go through the conference tournament. I ended up winning again, so I won. I went 1-1, and then I wrestled. Unfortunately, it was just an unlucky draw. I wrestled the kid who ended up taking third at the conference tournament. He actually qualified for nationals too. We only had 3 qualifiers this year, which was kind of bad, but I ended up wrestling him, and I lost by 2 or something. It was like a 2-point match, and then I went for something. I think it ended up being like 4. So I think it ended up being like 5-1 or something like that.
Okay.
But I mean, even that match, like, it's difficult because you get so mental, like you think you're out of something, but like that match was way closer than I thought it was. Like in the match, I'm like, oh my god, I'm getting my ass kicked. Like I'm never gonna come back from this.
I mean, do you also feel pressure of people watching you?
Not so much. I at the beginning of the season, I definitely did. I was worried about my spot, and I was also just, like, what if people are watching and I don't perform?
Yeah.
And then I think, it was. I actually had a sports psychologist. I talked to my coaches a lot, obviously to my parents, and it was working through that little mental barrier that, one, you're not going to wrestle your best every single match. I mean, that's just impossible.
Yeah.
And then I think the second one is you got to believe in yourself, and I think it's true with every sport, but especially running. Like, if you don't believe that you're going to win, you might win a couple matches, but you're not going to beat kids that you
Yeah.
can beat.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you limit yourself mentally. Like whether it's I'm gonna use running as an analogy just because that's what I know. Like if you think you can only run 205 and 800, you're gonna run like 207.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, it's a lot of mental like personal stuff, because I know like for like combat sports and for like more individual sports, it's like you're relying a lot less on your team to like pick up the slack sometimes. Like you might not be feeling your best, and you can always like rely on your teammates for like football or lacrosse or soccer or whatever. But like on the track or like when you're fighting someone, wrestling or whatever, it's like it's just you and the other guy or the other guys in this sense for like racing. And it's like you have to, I like what you said, like you're not going to be always like at your like tip top shape every race or every meet. Like you can't expect that of yourself. And I think once you take that pressure off yourself, it's like, and have that self-belief, I think you'll be able to perform a lot better and like perform a lot better under pressure by I don't know, removing that like expectation from yourself. So
Definitely. And
How
I-
wait, who's going?
you got
Oh. How like during, I guess this is your first year at a college season, you know?
Yeah.
How did you get that pressure off? Because I mean, obviously it had to be there, right?
It was there. I guess I'll start with what my record was. I started off 1-8. I ended up
Okay.
finishing the season 10-12.
oh wow.
Damn.
And I think it's just like a mix of I got a win against a Harvard kid at a F&M tournament, and then I ended up winning the next match too. But I think it's just getting those one or two big wins, and I think with wrestling or running, it's the same thing where you get that one race, you get that one, even in practice. Once something clicks, I can't really explain it. I beat that one kid, and my confidence just came back. I'm like, I belong here.
Yeah.
And I mean, that kid was actually ended up being pretty solid. I think he ended up being the starter for Harvard.
Oh, cool.
But I actually ended up wrestling him in the dual meet. So I beat him in OT 5-3 in December. We wrestled again in February. Ended up majoring him. And it's kind of just that.
majoring is like a big one.
8
Okay.
points. I ended up beating
Okay.
him by 8 points. So
Okay.
I went into OT with this kid, and then I beat him by 8 points later in the season. And I think it's just like, I think it's a mix of the growths that you make in college are absurd, but you're also going to hit those ruts, and it's how you deal with those ruts. And I think it's truthful in any sport, but wrestling especially, because it's all on you. You can't make excuses. Like, you've heard me a couple times today, like say like, oh, ref made a bad call, but when I like deep down, I know it was my fault.
Okay.
And I think that's the biggest change I've made, honestly, in my senior year, but especially this year, taking full accountability, but not beating myself up over for it. So
Yeah.
I made a mistake. I can't change that mistake, but what can I do now to make sure I don't make that mistake again? And I think, I mean, I see it with Andrew with running too. Like, sometimes you guys get, I mean, it's so mental that you guys get on each other so much that you're like, how did I do that? How did I run so poorly? Instead of being, how can I change that?
Yeah.
And I've applied that everywhere in my life, with school, with anything, with relationships, like just being able to understand you've made a mistake and trying to, rather than beating yourself over it, just trying to fix it is so important. And I think it's the only thing you really can do.
Yeah, I think things are, especially like nowadays, everything's so like hyper competitive. Like there's just so much competition for whether it's school, which is what I feel the most, and or wrestling or any sport. Things are just only getting more competitive, and it kind of it pushes you to think like, I need to beat myself up whenever I fuck up. Cause like if you fail, society makes it so that you're kind of fucked over if you fail.
Yeah.
But as long as you take that failure and you turn to something positive, which is probably the hardest thing to do in any facet of life. If you can learn to do that, you're going to be a successful person. Like,
Especially because
Doesn't
I don't think anybody can do that naturally. You know what I mean?
No,
Like,
you don't.
kind of gotta figure it out.
Right, because the natural response is to beat yourself up over it, to like kind of internalize that. But I think once you like have that like knowledge to like take a step back, not take it so personally, and just be like, I'm going to get better. And I think that's the best thing you can do as an athlete and as a person in general. But, I wanted to ask more about like you're talking a lot about like how your mentality switched in college, and that's like obviously like a big factor to like why your second half of the season was a lot better than your first half. But like, would you say like physically, like how is like the training different from high school, whether that be like lifting or like technique wise? Like, have you felt yourself grow in like that physical sense, or you want to talk about that?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I'm starting to really see it now because, I mean, during the season we don't lift too much. We do kind of resistance stuff and we wrestle a lot. We don't even do that much running. We do like sprint training, but now I'm starting to see like it's a mix of, I think, me getting older. I think obviously I'm naturally just getting stronger, but I think that another mentality that my coach has really stressed is when you're lifting, like lifting shouldn't be fun. Like you should be killing yourself when you lift. And I think Andrew's seen it with me. Like, I mean, we went to the gym the other day, and Andrew wants to stop squatting after 5 reps. I'm like, no, you're not done until you hit 10. That's what I told you to do.
For reference, I was failing every single fucking rep. He was helping me, so that's why I wanted to stop because the bar was collapsing on my back. But go on.
Maybe lower the weight a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
It was max. I was repping my max. For sure, but.
Exactly.
That'll do it.
I think it's my coach. His name's TJ Dudley. He ended up taking 3rd at World Team Trials. He's a 4-time All-American.
Yeah, he's gross.
Just accoladed the hell out. It's like this sense of if you're not collapsing after you're done lifting, like you're not doing it right. You should be pushing yourself. And I see it like my mentality is changing a lot. Like that first rep's always going to be the hardest one because you don't think you're going to be able to do it. And just pushing through that mental barrier, because I think I personally have a lot of mental struggles. And it's pushing through that mental barrier that, I can actually do this. Like I went from, at the beginning of the year, I squatted 315 was my max. I hit 365 for 2 before I left.
Damn. Okay.
And nothing has changed that much. I mean, I'm definitely stronger now, but it's that thing where like I'm gonna stand up. Like I'm just gonna get out, or not get out. I'm literally just gonna. I'm going to put the bar back up. Like
yeah.
It sounds really stupid. It sounds like elementary. It's like, well, yeah, obviously it's what you want to do, but not allowing yourself to quit is honestly the biggest thing.
I think that's something like I've only been lifting for about.
We almost have to restart it. Should we just start a new one?
Yeah, we should start a new one.
Yeah, let's start a new one.
Brief intermission.
All right.
Back to what we were talking about.
What we were talking about. Lifting. So like that's one of the things because like with running, you get kind of used to like you're running 6-7 days a week. You absolutely cannot kill yourself every day. I kill myself too much, and I maybe kill myself like 3 days a week, and that will kill you. But with lifting, you're lifting 3 days a week maybe if you're gonna be going that hard. 3 to 4 days a week.
We go 4 days a week at school.
Yeah, you really do have to push yourself, and it's not the same. I don't want to say lifting isn't as stressful as running on your body, but it's because it is. But there's something about running where like you're kind of wearing yourself down, but with lifting, you can almost recover quicker. I feel I don't really know. Like if I have a hard workout, it's hard to recover in 2 or 3 days. If I'm doing like 1K repeats or something.
I don't know, man. Going to the see, there's been some tough gym days.
Like lifting
I don't know. Yeah, that's true. I guess, but I guess like I get like lifting for strength and how like you'd want to have that mentality of like you can't drop this bar because like that's the whole point of lifting for strength, to like build, not just build muscle, but like actually become like a stronger person. So I think like that mentality just goes perfectly hand in hand with what you're trying to achieve like as an athlete.
Yeah, and
so,
I totally agree, and I think you have more than you think with lifting. I can't really tell you what the difference is, but like I think you have the ability to push yourself a little more with that kind of exercise. Not that one's harder or easier than the other.
I think the issue, or what you're not seeing, is that when you're lifting, you're changing your muscle group. However, when you're running, you're destroying the same muscle group over and over again.
That's what I'm saying.
So what you need to do, I mean, like obviously you're starting to do it now, but we change up our lifts every single day. Like every single week is a different lift. So like when I lift on Tuesday, the next Tuesday, it's not going to be the same lift. Yeah, we might have this similar exercises. Like we clean every day because that's really good for you. Just explosion-wise for wrestling. But being able to go from biking to running to swimming, something like that. Mixing those up, they're all going to help you, and I think that's something you've clearly noticed now, but in high school I don't think you really realized.
Well, yeah, because training can be quite like running wise. Training can be really like one-dimensional sometimes. I feel because running more and running faster is the main thing that will make you faster. I think that we could agree on that.
I just think for like sustainability wise.
Yeah, it's not and you guys obviously know that, being that you've both had multiple injuries. And I firmly believe that it's not the only thing that can really make you a great runner. Like, I think being in overall shape, like even doing upper body lifts can help. Biking like once or twice a week, swimming, just moving your body, playing spike ball or something like that. Like that stuff does, in my opinion, make a difference. And I think it leads to, being that running is probably one of the least sustainable sports when you're older. I think it makes it a lot more sustainable. Like,
and just like an overall stronger runner, because
Exactly.
like again, like doing those cross training things, you're working out muscle groups that you don't always work out like when you're running, and like that those are still important for like.
And that's what he did.
Exactly.
He did all that. You did it different. You did a lot of PT, but that's still the same thing. You're working different muscles.
You biked for months, and then you had that transition where like you're finally healthy enough to run, but you still had like not only like your aerobic strength there, but like you had like that like physical strength there from like, because biking keeps you in like very good shape. Like obviously maybe not your calves as much, but like your quads, like your hips, like your core, like
different muscle groups.
Exactly.
Like
moving,
strengthening up different parts.
Right.
And I think this is literally bringing me into like the thing I'm most adamant about, and this is why I wanted to play two sports in college, is because I think the reason why I was able to be such a great lacrosse, I think I was a pretty good lacrosse player.
He was All-American lacrosse for one. He played one season.
You were a great lacrosse.
You were a very good lacrosse
So I
player.
think the reason why I was able to excel in both sports was the fact that, right at the end of wrestling season, I was playing lacrosse. I wasn't doing anything else, and I was able to love both sports because every single year, right at the end of the season, I was burning out. Because I was wrestling from August to February.
It's a long.
It's a long season, and obviously at the beginning, during the season, it starts in November. I was a little bit more serious than I was at the beginning. I was watching my weight and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But being able to I guess feel a different, because lacrosse is a completely different animal. I think it's actually less of a team sport than wrestling.
Interesting, yeah.
Because in dual meets, wrestling
it's kind of like cross country.
You're like, I think the best way to explain it is, for my junior year, we had a top 4 team in the county at the county tournament.
Mm-hmm.
We took, I think, 9th at states. We didn't even make it to the county tournament for dual meets because of we had 4 really good kids, and we were able to get points in tournaments. But in dual meets, we would lose matches like 24 to 50.
Yeah, you'd have those 4 kids getting 6 points for a pin, and everyone else loses.
Exactly.
The depth wasn't there.
And I think with lacrosse,
you can have that superstar. And
you can have that.
Okay
we could, like last year, I think we had a more complete team than normal. But you watch Smithtown West play, who was a really good team. They made the county semis last year. They had 2 really good kids. Everyone else sucked, but they made the county semis.
Yeah.
And that's why I kind of went off topic there, but
no, it makes sense.
And I think going back to cross training, it's so important. You can't be wrestling 24/7. You can't be running 24/7. You need to find something else that you like. And even it's as stupid as golf. I play golf all the time now, and it's just it's a hobby, but it's also
you're still moving.
Yeah, you're still moving. I'm using back muscles I've never used.
You're walking
on your feet all day.
Yeah, exactly.
Carrying a bag, sometimes.
But I think finding another sport, at minimum, just to train is so important too.
Just mentally too, as you were saying, running can get very rigid and monotonous sometimes. So it's good to switch it up mentally, and I think just performing at a high level, like as you were saying, cross training is really essential for sure.
Okay, rock climbing.
Yes, rock climbing.
I fucking love rock climbing.
I love rock climbing too. For anyone watching, please try rock climbing. It is seriously
it's fun.
Highly recommend.
I went rock climbing at EAWA's.
Oh really?
Because where we wrestled at Cornell, they have a rock climbing thing inside. So it's pretty fun. We just snuck in and they were didn't say anything.
How'd you like it?
Hard. It's good
kills your
because
fingers
of
and
the grip
everything.
strength. Because
Yeah.
I mean, wrestling, you need to be able to hold on to
Oh,
a wrist
yeah.
and other things like
Yeah.
that. So I mean,
yeah, but you're a
my-
little fat for it, right?
yeah.
Yeah, you're a little fat. Yeah, that's a problem. Sorry.
But yeah, I think it's really helpful. I mean, it's always nice to have a
Yeah.
great grip. It also is just like good for your forearms. Like, I mean, how often are you really working out your forearms?
Yeah.
No, that's a
That's
very.
It's
good
also
point.
core too. Like once you get to like the higher level, like they're starting to get pretty good. Both of them. They have to start twist like you did like a V4 or something, like a green V4 last time we were there, and you had to like literally rotate your body like almost upside
Yeah,
down. to do
the
it.
core strength with the higher V levels is
Yeah.
like crazy.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
pretty intense.
The calisthenics.
Oh,
that was
Calisthenics, yeah.
Like sort of. That's kind of.
That's kind of what I want to do if I ever get into like lifting, because like you get shredded kind of, but like you're not
You get
huge and you're also
Strong,
like
kind of a bitch.
and you're kind of a bitch though, which is like perfect. But yeah, I mean
I want to get into yoga.
yoga.
wanna
get into
yoga?
Oh
It's
yeah, and
so
that's
good for
not a
you.
bitch thing to do. Okay.
Wait, go into that because I'm curious about that. Why?
It's kind of like my coaches were telling me to get into it because, I mean, for wrestling, being flexible is so helpful. Like, I'll wrestle with my coach or some other kids that are really top wrestlers. They can do a full split, and they can wrestle from being in a full split. So being able to just, like, kind of mind fuck your opponent, being like, oh, my God, I almost
Yeah.
got this takedown, and then they go into a full split, like, it sucks. Like, I've been there, and I'm like, motherfucker. Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just like, I'm trying to do everything I can, and they're just staying there. And just in general, it's just better for you to be flexible. Like, I can barely touch my toes, which is really funny because, like, I mean, I'm a high level athlete. But
Yeah, I figured, dude. Why am I?
Yeah,
more
actually,
flexible
I
than
would
you?
feel like
It's so
as like
weird.
wrestling at a D1 team, you guys would do a lot of like flexibility stuff.
we do now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
for
seems
sure.
really
That's, like,
important.
a
Actually, now that I think
huge
about
thing,
it.
Yeah, no, like it. So my head coach ended up getting fired.
Especially
there were
for,
a
like,
lot of questionable things that he did.
Oh.
To be completely 100% honest. Like we would run. I showed Andrew a picture of the hill. We would run a hill that is honestly the steepest thing I've ever seen, without stretching before.
Oh.
So it was
like
it was just horrible.
You know the hill? It looks exactly like the hill from. It's probably steeper, but
think I
it's,
have a
it's like the 400-meter hill from. You know where Port Jeff School is? We used to run that sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
that
wow.
it's
one,
steeper
the one,
than
not the
it's
800
steeper.
one.
It's steeper than that.
Dude, yeah, but it's like that length, but like
Okay.
probably
Wow.
definitely a bit steeper.
Wait,
It's-
would you do any kind of like dynamic warm up, or just right into?
No, well, see, the thing was, is the workout was at like 6 a.m.
Oh god.
So
It? Okay.
I would show up at like 5:45 and like stretch out, but there were a lot of teammates of mine that just
We're not
Yeah.
waking up before then.
Yeah.
I don't blame you.
But yeah, that sucks. The morning workouts were horrible.
Yeah, I honestly,
They were never
I'm a
fun.
big proponent of working out when you feel your strongest.
Well,
like
it's just
I feel
not
like
possible
like
at school.
I just
but-
when I wake up at 8 a.m. and work out at 8:30, I'm not getting the most out of my workout, to be completely honest.
Yeah, no,
even
I-
no matter how
I'm-
hard I try.
I agree with you, and that's why I mean, I somewhat got a leadership role after the year I had,
Mhm.
and I was able to tell my coach, I'm like, we need to be lifting at 3 instead of. Like,
Yeah.
So we started practicing at 7:30, which sucked too. But being able to lift at 3 and just like going all out, like I would lift more. So I was cutting weight for the U.S. Open.
Okay.
And I would be able to lift more when I was cutting weight at 3 than when I was in the morning when I was
Not
weighing
cutting.
normal weight.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think it's a huge thing. And I mean, obviously, sleeping right is so big. I think
Yeah.
that's honestly the most underlooked, like,
Well, because you kind of can't
Yes.
sleep a lot if you're doing like, if you just have a lot on your plate, it's hard to get
I don't
the hours in.
yeah and no, yes and no, because I mean,
You have to prioritize it. Though,
You do,
know?
which
Especially as an
easy or not.
athlete. But
I prioritize sleep really hard. Like I
I've
had
been doing it
7:30
recently.
lift. I would go. So my schedule second semester, I really started realizing.
yeah, I was gonna ask like
how
what does like a day in the life of like a D1 wrestler look like
Yeah.
for you personally? Brown?
So during the season, so off season during the season are completely different animals.
Let's
so
say during the season.
during the season, so it's so I wake up 7:30 for lift, then I have a 9 a.m. class, 10 a.m. class, practice at we'll say 3:20 to 5, and then recovery right after. Like I mean I had a lot of bumps and bruises. I had partially torn my LCL at the beginning of the season, so I had to wear a knee brace for a while.
Well, what's recovery look like? Is that like ice bath?
Ice
stretching?
bath, cupping.
You do that every
stretching.
day?
Almost every day.
Yeah, that's what's great about college.
I would ice bath every day.
Yeah. There's a lot more resources
my legs,
to
at least.
stay
No,
healthy
yeah,
and
that's good.
stuff.
Like that has to help so much.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Like you could just,
but
it sucks, but you can handle
it was-
so much more pressure on your body when you do that.
Oh, 100%.
Don't like the cold.
No, not at all. And then
Using
on,
going naked.
on Saturday, that would kind of be either, depending on if we had a meet, we'd be going to the meet obviously, or a tournament. Sometimes we do swimming, kind of just work out different muscles, or it'd just be like a very nonchalant practice. We'd warm up with like ultimate frisbee in the room, which ended up being way more dangerous than our own wrestling.
Wait,
Like,
why?
My
Tackling.
my coach is the most competitive person I've ever met.
Okay.
Like both of my I have 2 coaches that are a lot younger, and they're way more competitive than I've ever met people. I got leveled one time trying to catch a frisbee. Like he went shoulder to literally to my chest, and it rode up to my jaw, and I had to sit out for most of practice because I'm like I might have a concussion. But yeah, it's just yeah.
That's amazing.
We're in the room. It's a small area, and everyone's just like, I mean, kids
Yeah.
are trying to get sweat, so they're going hard.
So you're going hard, yeah.
But I mean, it brought I think competitiveness is like. I mean, we were talking about it before.
Yeah,
as
with,
a
I was talking to him
downside.
about Prefontaine and
Oh,
the
okay.
new guy, the Angel runner.
Yeah.
Cade Flat.
Cade Flat, yeah.
Yeah.
There's new. That kind of attitude really is rare in running. And
Yeah.
that is
Very
the most
rare.
important thing. I think that's why the main reason why you're good is because you have that still.
I'm not like public with it though.
No, but
No,
like,
it's-
Yeah,
you
yeah,
like,
no.
but you still are like I mean.
But you
still
have
I
that
wanna
like
beat
don't
these
give a
kids.
fuck, very like competitive mentality, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's like not that common in everyone's trying to be so nice and like humble and like that's great and all, but like you know it's nice to
Actually,
see that
fuck you.
other side.
And,
I
like,
actually,
you know.
I want to use this to ask a question. Unless did you have anything to add? Okay. So you're obviously a high level athlete, you know. So how balanced is the life that you're living? Like,
As someone that's about to go into that.
yeah.
I don't go out ever.
Okay.
So like I kind of picked my spots.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not trying to sound like an asshole, but I'm a little bit more committed to my academics than most kids on my team are.
Okay.
Brown's actually a place where you could take a lot of classes pass fail, so it lightens your load a little bit. I actually ended up not taking any pass fail because I didn't see a need.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a difficult. I think I'm going to take one next
Speaking of
semester.
economics, come on.
Microeconomics is really hard.
Okay.
Our mathematical micro.
Some aspects of economics can be difficult. I'll
Do you
say
wanna
that. I'm just saying.
All right,
All right, it's better than business. Come on now.
Hey, that's what I'm saying. He's in fucking business.
Hey, it's business analytics specifically. All right, but we
That sounds better,
we
though.
do our coloring
That
books.
does sound better. Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
It's really hard to get in the lines. But yeah, I mean, I think it's an adjustment. I think that's what my first semester was.
Mhm.
You know, trying to balance practice, just connecting with the team.
Yeah.
And obviously your grades, everything like that. And then also like I mean, I balanced something else. I had a girlfriend at the time, and I still do. She goes to Boston College, so it's
She has her NCAA championship right now, as you guys know. She's
so
Shit.
Go Summer.
but,
Summer, if you're watching this,
luck.
I hope you guys won that game.
Yeah. But
He's not gonna be watching.
but I mean, I was able to see her a lot more than I thought, and it was a mix of like, I mean, I would just kind of plan out my days. Her parents would be coming up to watch her play, and I'd go with them. And it's just like kind of multitasking and like really getting your schedule down to it.
Yeah, I
like a
think you really have to be
science.
regimented when you have
So
that.
regimented.
Not that I'm a D1 athlete, but you know, I worked out 2-3 hours a day in school, which is not really normal, and I'm
Yeah.
an engineering major. And I'll
Yeah,
show you it. I
yeah.
have like a laminated schedule for every
I
day.
saw
of the
that.
week.
I threw
yeah.
it out.
Yeah, shut up.
You threw it out.
Well, I mean, you didn't need it anymore.
I didn't need it.
I mean, and
That's
it's
true.
so hard trying to run at the D1 level, just doing it alone. You don't have the resources of like a team or anything. It's kind of just like
Yeah.
solo.
But I think that
that's
you,
hard
like,
as hell.
especially, I mean, you're probably gonna be hanging out with the team. Like, that's what he does, I think. Like,
Yeah,
you
I was
hang
gonna
out with the
ask. Like,
team
do you feel like
all
you're
the time.
close with your team? Like,
I love my team, and I mean, obviously, when I found out my coach was fired,
Yeah.
I was kind of thinking about transferring, and then I'm like, I don't want to leave here. Like, I don't want to have to go through all this again. But also, like, these are friends that are gonna last a lifetime.
Yeah.
But I think it's together. Like, we all push each other. Like, we all go to the we don't have mandatory study hours like you guys probably will.
Yeah.
But everyone goes together. I mean, the resources are there if you need them, and I think that's the biggest thing that student athletes don't really realize. Like, all you got to do is ask. You got to go to. You could go to the AD. They're super vocal with us. But I just go to my coach. I'm like, hey, I need a tutor for this, or hey, can you get me extension on my paper because sometimes teachers are kind of annoying with that type of stuff.
Yeah,
They're like,
yeah.
oh, you can get it done, and then I'll have my coach email them, and then I'll get an
Yeah.
extension. But yeah, just like really using your resources is important, and also, I mean, this is the major problem I made my first semester is getting out of your room. Like I studied in my room my whole first semester.
Oh yeah, that is bad. Yeah.
It's very bad. I actually liked it because I played music, and I have a much different room than you. Like my room is huge.
Yeah,
this year.
yeah, that's true. But still, like staying at the same place, like I have to switch it up every day personally.
Yes.
Like,
No, and that's the one thing I noticed where I started going to the library. I started going to the lounges. I even studied at the wrestling house.
Yeah.
And also it's like studying with other people. And obviously, everyone is. I mean, whether it's the freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, it doesn't matter. You're going to take a similar class than someone, or you're gonna have a class with someone. We even have kids that quit the team, that are still around the team. That like he'll help me study for my macro. Like I had macro semester, and I'll be like, hey, I'll text them. I'll be like, hey, can you help me? I'm doing a homework set. And then also office hours. So important to go to those.
Yeah, yeah.
Getting to know your professors and letting them like know that you care, especially as an athlete, because there's always that stigma that, you're just an athlete. You're there just to play sports.
Yeah. Kind of like almost, especially at Ivies, people are like, you don't belong there.
Yeah.
Like
I don't. But yes.
Yeah, but still, you could pass.
No, I'm joking. I feel like I'm actually smarter than some of like the regular
Some people that get in, especially in the COVID year, do not belong in Ivies. I'm just gonna put that out there, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just like really using all your resources, and I mean, don't kill yourself. I mean, I took naps all the time in between studying, but
College naps hit different.
oh my god,
They do.
it's so good. I would
Yeah.
take like an hour and a half nap, and
That's what I did too.
It feels so good for the day.
Yeah, yeah.
I also relied heavily on energy drinks, but
You have to.
that's-
Yeah,
Caffeine
that's what
addiction.
you gotta
cannot.
do.
Even Anthony's addicted
Yeah.
to caffeine now. Like,
Yeah.
Are you living in the wrestling house next year?
So for Brown, you can't live off campus until you're a junior. And,
That's same for Syracuse.
Yeah.
and
Same.
sometimes even as a junior, you won't get it. So senior, 100%. But I mean, it's actually probably cheaper for me to live on campus.
Really?
Because of financial aid.
oh, they help you with that too.
Yeah.
Oh, screw you. Wow, I'm paying $17K a year
Yikes.
For housing,
for housing
Wait
for my shitty house.
dude, you pay.
Yeah, that's most of my tuition
You literally, I think you pay more than me for my whole school.
for your whole school. Yeah, I'm paying $17K plus $10K tuition.
That's
Yeah, it's crazy.
absurd housing
It's
prices.
I know, and if you've seen my dorm,
It's
I literally
horrible.
don't
Your
have
dorm
room
is-
to
My
move.
Your dorm
one
is somehow
my one
worse
side
than
of
mine.
the room was bigger than Andrew's whole room.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Wait, so I guess what's like going on now? Like, what are you trying to do this summer, and then what, like, I guess next year?
Goals for the future.
So, I mean, one goal that I set from August, or not August, wow, I can't get my dates right, April. So I wrestled in the U.S. Open
Yeah.
in April. Ended up losing in the blood round. If I ended up winning that match, I would have qualified for World Team Trials for junior. So luckily, I still have one more year. So one goal that's just kind of an overarching goal, or two of them, be an NCAA qualifier, which I 100% know I can be. And then number two is to, I mean, I want to win the U.S. Open. I think I can. Adjusting to freestyle is a huge thing. It's kind of like running.
That's also more flexibility too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's almost like running a 200 and running, and then being told you're going to run the 400.
Okay. Yeah.
So you're training so hard for one thing. It's a completely different.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of similarities, but it's a completely different sport.
It's like you're still running,
It's related.
but it's not the same kind of
Yes.
running.
Wait,
Yeah.
Wait,
exactly.
how is it different? I'm
So it's all in, wrestling. There's in folk style is what you wrestle in college
Yeah.
and in high school. You're on your you have neutral, which is on your feet. Then you're top bottom. So you could either be bottom or top.
confused. Right.
However, in freestyle, you're on your feet, and it's a thing called parterre. There's gut wrenches, there's turns, and basically, once you take him down, your goal is to expose his back. If you expose his back, that's 2 points. In folk style, if you expose your back, that's no points. However, if you stay on your back for seconds, it could be either 2 points or 4 points. So, and also another change is there's touch falls. So if your back touches, you're pinned. They call it immediately.
Oh, damn.
Like both shoulders touches, you're pinned immediately. Folk style, you roll over. So like if you roll over on your back,
Both shoulder blades have to touch. And
both shoulder blades have to touch. You have to be there for like a second.
This is for the U.S. Open rules.
That's
for college rules. Okay.
But if you roll, so like if you roll from one point onto your back to another point on your back, you're pinned in freestyle.
Okay. Wow.
And that's what they wrestle in the world. And then also there's a couple other changes. Like if you're on your feet and someone takes you down and puts you to your back, that's 4 points. And then I don't really I'm new to it, but from what I've heard, a 5-point move is just it looks cool. So it's like a 4-point move, but it just looks cooler.
Interesting. How do judges even determine that?
So there's actually 3 judges.
Oh, okay.
So there's a ref on the mat. There's a ref on one side of the one side on the mat, and then there's another ref on the other side.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a majority rule. So like say one ref says 4, the other say 2. It's a 2-point move.
Right.
And there's challenges. Challenges are different in freestyle. For college, at least for dual meets, you get 1 challenge for the whole dual meet unless you win it, and then you get another challenge. For freestyle, you can challenge as much as you want, but if you lose, the other guy gets a point. Which is weird.
There's a lot of weird rules.
There's a lot of weird rules, yes.
And what's with I've seen people do cartwheels and shit and just really weird scramble stuff.
So yeah, cartwheels. So that's
that's one of the cool moves.
It's
5-pointer.
No, so it kind of depends. It's confusing. So I hit it for 5, and then my friend did it. He got a 4, at the U.S. Open. So you basically, so you guys know what's going on. You pick a guy up in a double leg, you run into the edge, and then you cartwheel, and that's a 5. It should be a 5-point move. Another one is a suplex. Everyone knows that one, where you're standing behind the guy and he throws you. My coach did that to me. Yeah.
Wait. You cartwheel with a person? I'm so confused.
Yeah, it's hard. Actually, it's really not that hard. So literally, you're just holding them, and you try to land on your elbow, and then you go over. It's hard to explain. I mean, I could.
It looks cool.
I'll definitely. We definitely got to see that at some point.
But
that sounds really interesting.
It's cool. But yeah, it's just an adjustment. And I mean, my blood round match at the U.S. Open, or I think it was the round before the blood round, but either way, I was down 8-0 in the first 20 seconds because I got turned 6 times. Not turned 6 times. I got turned 3 times and I got taken down once. And then I ended up losing that match 16-14. And I got those all on takedowns. I didn't get 1 exposure.
Okay.
And in folk style, I'd be up 10-2.
Right.
Freestyle, I'm down 16-12.
So it's just learning a different way of wrestling, kind of.
16-14. Yeah. It's difficult, and I mean it got me a lot better. I've already felt there's scrambles where I don't give up takedowns as easy as I used to, which is a big problem I had. Also, just wrestling on the edge. Another thing I forgot to include was if you step out, if your full foot goes 1 foot goes out, it's another point for the other guy. Whereas in folk style, if you're circling that edge, you can step out of bounds. You're in bounds until the other guy.
You're both all completely, even if the guy's
if you're completely out. If your fingernail is in, you're in college wrestling.
Yeah.
Oh damn. Okay.
Yeah, but in freestyle, if your foot steps out, that's a point for the other guy.
Interesting.
So you really gotta watch.
Yeah, getting used to that edge and guys pushing forward and
right.
It's a completely different feel. But I mean, some day-to-day goals I have, weekly goals. I want to run 9 miles a week, which I've already done this week.
It's pretty solid for a wrestler.
Yeah, and it's not fast or anything.
Yeah.
It's I do a couple days, I think 2 days ago.
We did hill sprints the other day.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
sucked.
Yeah,
That was the worst thing ever. I beat him, though. That's all that mattered.
So I beat him by 16 seconds on the first 3. And then he beats me by 4 on the last one. He's like, I beat you.
I did not beat you by 4. I beat you by way more than 4.
So you ran a 39, I ran a 45. So 6.
Yeah,
6
so
seconds.
that's not 4 seconds.
So yeah.
I told you the one time I was gonna go.
I
split
45, 46 every single
I'm just
time.
faster
He
than
split
you, it's fine.
60 and then 39 for the last one.
But
yeah.
I love the
So
sibling
the last one,
rivalry.
you were racing. You were running consistent.
I was running consistent. Yeah.
no, I told you. I said loser has another sprint.
Did you do it?
This was
No.
after we did the barefoot 3 miles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was
I
like,
lifted. I did legs before this.
so I did like today. I can still bitch, you know? I biked. Shut up.
just like it's. I
Not
did
running shit,
this.
so.
I did that.
Exactly. Like, stop complaining. You lost. It's okay. You still have another hill. to
Yeah, right.
But like this, like even though like I'm joking,
Yeah, it's like a little competitive.
having
little-
competitiveness. I mean, it was between our brothers, but being like I think some people are a little bit against it, but being competitive is super important. Like having that competitive edge, and that's something I'm trying to work towards.
Yeah.
Where it's like I'm not being cocky, but I'm confident in myself and I'm competitive enough to know that I'm gonna go out there and beat this kid. I don't care who he is. I don't
Yeah.
care what he's done.
Mm-hmm.
That's another big goal of mine. And then I think I want to get to 405 squat, which I think I definitely can.
That's heavy.
It is heavy. I won't go up after that. I'm gonna hit it
Okay.
once, and then I'm gonna be like, you know what? I don't need this
I can hit
anymore.
a 405 squat. That's,
I can hit a
yeah.
405. Yeah. I mean, those are just kind of numbers. They're not. I mean, they're not detrimental. Like, obviously, I want to hit those, but
If you don't hit them, you're not gonna. It's not
I'm
gonna
not gonna
change
kill
how good of
myself.
a wrestler you are, really.
yeah.
Not a lifter, you're a wrestler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think setting goals in other sports are important. I mean, I'm not going to compete until next season.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, obviously, this is something I've been kind of debating whether or not to do. I mean, I've gotten contact by the lacrosse coach, so I want to keep my lacrosse skills up just in case I end up playing both sports, because I think it's helpful to me more than it's hurtful,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm someone who burns out very easily, and I don't like half-assing stuff. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's another goal of mine, is be a little bit more focused than last year. I think going into my freshman year, I was focused, but I wasn't as focused as I could be.
It's also a lot to. It's a big change.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a huge adjustment. Yeah.
he has a lot
but
to deal
I
with.
don't think I think it's an excuse. I think
I think it distracts you a little bit. It's a whole new environment. Like, you don't
Yeah.
know how to focus properly because it's a whole new thing.
Yeah.
You know.
No, I know, but I mean,
Especially
obviously,
competitively.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't do as well as I wanted to first semester and everything, but
Yeah.
second semester I started doing better.
But yeah, it's not the end of the world. It's one
Yeah.
semester.
Exactly. But yeah, that's another goal of mine. Just
Okay.
stay focused, know what's at hand, and I mean, obviously, there's a lot of uncertainty with my coach, so
Mhm.
that's the major reason why I want to do that. I actually have more. I actually have them written down.
Yeah, you got all your goals.
Yeah, I
That's
mean, it's
pretty
not
good.
all of them. I add them from time to time.
Yeah, yeah.
That's good though to have like a written list. Yeah.
It's I'm pretty sure there's like an actual I don't know
Study.
what you call it. There's like a all right. Well, I've heard this thing where if you write down your goals, you're more likely to get it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
That's
Like,
true. I've
that
heard
makes
that. Yeah,
sense.
that is true.
Absolutely.
It's a nice quote that my coach says all the time.
Yeah, but like, who
if
knows
you
what-
have dreams, once you write down your dreams, they're goals.
yeah,
So writing down everything and making sure, like we would have a goal for every single practice in some sort of area, because we would know our practice schedule before going in, and we'd be like, how can we get 1% better? Because we get 1% better every single day. By the end of the season, you're 100 and I think like 15% better.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can.
It's actually not the right amount, because you do 1.01 to the end.
It was.
Shut up,
You
Andrew.
got one more hill
It's
spring,
complicated.
man.
Yeah, I do have one more hill.
Get on your hill, Andrew.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously some like lifting and eating goals, and then I have my wrestling goals. Wrestling goals are like kind of developing a go-to ride. I mean, this year I was able to ride kids out, but I wasn't turning them.
You can't stay on top.
What are you talking about?
He
Andrew, I literally rode out every single freshman and sophomore wrestled. I rode out. Every other kid, no.
scrubs.
But I mean, shot defense, and then like just like being more stingy, which is I think I already started doing. And
With
then
money?
No, with giving up like.
Oh,
chores.
These are wrestling goals.
I know, but you're talking about
Yeah,
like
yeah.
goals. You're talking about eating goals and all this shit. Like, be more stingy.
It's
and,
all
And then
revolves
Mr.
around
Krabs.
athleticism.
One more wrestling goal, which is constantly moving my feet, looking to score from anywhere, kind of just reattacks and stuff like that. Like I've gotten better at deciphering my matches and seeing where I'm doing well, and obviously, I take the positives, but I don't dwell on those. I think, or the negatives. I think I take the positive. I'm like, you know what, I did this well, but I still got to work on this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
And you're never going to be perfect, and that's something I've kind of accepted. And then like my last goal was really just like one getting to 205, but not a fat 205, shredded 205.
What are you at right now?
195.
Okay.
So I gotta gain a lot of weight.
Yeah.
He's like a fat 210 right now.
And then finally, and I think it's something that a lot of athletes don't realize, especially ones that set high goals for themselves, it's just getting healthy. I mean, I wrestled, so I went to the U.S. Open. I wrestled a little bit after, and then I ended up like stretching out my LCL again.
Yeah. Okay.
And that was kind of a wake-up call. I'm like, I mean, right now I'm not wrestling. I'm just lifting. I want to get bigger. I'm focusing on my strength right now, and then I'm going back to school in a week. So then I'll start wrestling again. I'll dial back on the lifting.
Yeah.
But I'm lifting 5-6 days a week right now.
Okay.
And it's not the healthiest thing. I know that, and that's why I'm not wrestling. I'm drinking a lot of water. I'm trying to get bigger.
Well, it's like pre-season training, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, right now I think it's a little bit of off season.
Okay.
And then once probably July hits, it's preseason.
Gotcha. Okay.
I mean, our preseason doesn't start until we get to school, but it does.
Yeah.
I think we're going to Rutgers this year. We're going to a couple other schools if my assistant coach becomes the head coach, just to get different feels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think just listening to your body and just like, you know, like the other day I was gonna go lift and I'm like, you know what, I can't move. Like it's not like I could lift, but like what the hell am I gonna get out of it?
Yeah.
You're too tired.
You're already broken down.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
Speaking of like knowing yourself, like I know like weight is like a huge thing to like manage as a wrestler. Like, have you found that to be like more challenging in college or?
Yes and no. So, I think I'm way better at cutting weight than I think I am. I mean, I was weighing 200 over the summer, and I was so worried because my coaches wanted me to wrestle 184. I mean, it's 15 pounds. It's not that much, but
still, it's 15 pounds.
It's 15 pounds. And then I was actually too small this year. I was weighing like 180 for every single weigh-in because I didn't realize that. I mean, wrestling every single day is gonna make you. I mean, I don't really have an appetite after I work out because I'm like, I just killed myself.
Yeah.
I like to get water in me, get electrolytes in me, and then I'm like, I'll eat in like an hour. But yeah, and just in general, cutting weight's a little bit easier in college. Like, you're older, your coaches are more on you, and it also helps when your room is 85 degrees.
Sweating buckets constantly.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
I wore a sweatshirt one time in that room, and I thought I was gonna pass out. And then because we always hit air dime sprints. Not always, but I like to hit air dime sprints after I work out, especially if it wasn't the hardest practice. And going 10 minutes on that, 30, or we go 40 on, 20 off. Worst thing in my life. Like
That's pretty hard. Was that like that treadmill that's like kind of slanted or like?
It's a bike. So
it's a bike.
It's
the Airdyne bike.
The Airdyne bike when you move your arms.
Oh right. Yeah, like the fan and stuff.
That's pretty tough.
Yeah. And that's
that
all
tough,
resistance. Like you're not. I mean, at least with the treadmill, I think there's limitations.
Why do you guys do the Airdyne bike though? That cools you down. Why don't you do just a normal bike?
We put tape over it.
Oh.
Smart.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
No relief
I'm
for you.
Dripping after a bike, like
no
a spin
relief.
bike. Ugh.
I think you get more out of the Airdyne.
Get disgustingly sweaty.
You probably get more out of the Airdyne if you're covering it, but since you're like on a bike, like if I'm biking outside, I'm not sweating because I'm getting air.
Also 85 degrees in the room.
85 degrees in the room, but yeah.
I think just the fact that you cover it, you're not just moving your legs, you're moving your arms,
And you're just getting your whole body into
everywhere.
It sucks.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
One thing I really want to point out is okay. So you said a couple things. You said you don't like half-assing it. You said you like to like stay in the positive because there's no point like dwelling on the negative, right? And then what else was it? There's one thing I can't remember what it was, but basically, you seem like you got a pretty good headspace in terms. Oh, it was competitive. Being competitive.
Yeah.
You know, like being like a humble on the outside, competitive, but like on the inside, I guess.
Oh, I'm a sore loser.
Yeah, no,
You're
he's
sore
a bitch.
loser?
Yeah.
Okay, so then just being competitive. It seems like you got all of that. I mean, that can't just come naturally. Like so.
It doesn't.
So like, how do you keep that up? Because obviously, you know, with losing sometimes, even with winning sometimes, you get cocky. You said you don't like to be cocky, right?
Yeah.
So like, how do you put yourself in check?
He has two brothers.
Yeah, I have two brothers,
Okay.
but I think the main thing is, I mean, job's not finished. So
Okay.
my goal is to be an NCAA champion.
Yeah.
regardless if that's a lofty goal or not. That's what I'm setting. That's why I'm training. That's why I'm pushing myself. So when I know when, I mean, like, don't get me wrong. There's times when I want to fucking quit.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, there were times this year when I'm like, am I built enough to do this? And obviously right now I'm looking back at it and I'm saying all these things. But there's times where I'm tested. I'm tested constantly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I always ask myself, I'm like, is this really what I want to do?
Mm-hmm.
And then when I see, and it's a little bit more competitiveness, when I see one of my teammates running past me in a sprint, or when we do stadiums, they're pushing harder than I am. I'm like, you know what? Like, no one's going to work out harder than me. Whatever I do in life, no one's going to work harder than me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And obviously, clearly there are people that were, like, I know that. But in my head, I'm like,
No, you don't want to see anyone doing it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let anyone work, like, even if they're faster than me, I'm going to put everything out. I'm going to pass out before I
You're
let
gonna
someone
hurt
beat
more.
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a little bit crazy.
Well, I got to be honest. I don't think that's crazy at all. I think that's what you have to do. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I guarantee
Especially if you really want to achieve something at a high level like that, you know, you have to be a little bit crazy to get there.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I guarantee you there's not an NCAA champion that
Isn't like that.
Yes.
isn't like that.
Yeah.
you know?
There are sacrifices to make at levels like that. So.
And I talked to my coach. So he went to Nebraska, and one of the greatest, if not the most decorated wrestler in U.S. history, Jordan Burroughs, went to Nebraska. He was actually a teammate of my coach.
Okay.
And it's kind of where I got this idea, because, I mean, coming into the year, I was kind of like, you know what, I know my place. I'm not going to push myself. Like, I'm not going to speak up. I'm not going to be an asshole. I'm not going to push guys.
Yeah.
And then I heard him talk about this, and I talked about it to him more and more and more. And I started watching documentaries on him, Jordan, because I think Jordan Burroughs is probably one of my favorite wrestlers to watch. And the way this guy pushes himself, the way he doesn't take any shit, he doesn't allow his teammates, like if the guy he's wrestling with is dogging it, he'll throw him into the corner and he'll start screaming at him during practice.
Yeah.
And it's not like a I think I'm better than you type of scream. It's a you're not pushing yourself.
doing
You're
this
not
for you.
you're not doing what you can do. And I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that's another reason why wrestling's a team sport. Whereas like lacrosse, or I mean I've definitely felt in lacrosse, and I think I mean comparing it's easy because I played it. Guys will yell at each other because they don't want, like, they're like, come on now, like if we have to do another sprint, go fuck yourself, like
Yeah.
come on.
Lacrosse
like,
is
I just want to be done.
lacrosse is very much a sport that you kind of just ride the wave of talent. And,
Yes.
and the guys that do, I'm not saying there aren't guys that work, because there fucking are.
No,
But
no.
there's the culture and just the nature of the sport. You could just be Mr. Talented Kid and just fuck around and be great. And it's not one of those sports that
Demands a lot.
it doesn't demand
No,
a ton.
And I think that's why I was good, because I mean you could disagree with me, but I don't think I was technically the best. I didn't have the best stick skills. I didn't do all this. I didn't have the training. I didn't put in, but I put in the time compared to everyone else. I put in more time. I was out there shooting every single ground ball I was fighting for. I mean, if someone took the ball away from me, I was gonna hit them as hard as I could.
Yeah, you're also like what, 200 pounds and then ripped at playing lacrosse.
Yeah.
You hit someone like Simo's size. Simo's a great lacrosse.
I was
He's gonna
gonna
be
tell
on
you
the
about
next
that
podcast.
story.
His soul's
probably.
gonna go out of his
He's-
body.
I almost
5'6".
got kicked out of practice because I leveled the shit out of him.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Well, he's 5'6", and you have James coming at you. You're not doing anything unless you're also 200 pounds and jacked. Which
Unless
that
you
would be
can
gross.
run very fast. That's
Unless
it.
you can run very fast. It's a problem.
Yeah, in practice, it's a little bit. I got the competitiveness, but can be a little bit dangerous sometimes for sure.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, especially in
Um,
lacrosse.
That happened in hockey sometimes.
Oh,
People would just be
yeah.
messing
I can
around.
imagine.
Yeah.
But I think just in general, it's just like, I mean, I don't like going to practice every day, and sometimes, like, especially during the off season, like, my coach doesn't want us on the mats other than like 2 or 3 days a week,
Oh, interesting. Okay.
and he wants us lifting more. But it's also like, I mean, especially with finals, it was like be there when you can, and I kind of took the time off, and I was like kind of
You need a reset.
You need a
can't
reset.
kill yourself
and
all the time.
yeah, exactly. And I think obviously there's gonna be days where I don't kill myself because of how I'm feeling, but I mean, using your time smartly and knowing your body, and it's hard because it doesn't come easy, but like when you're going to the gym, you're like, fuck it, I don't want to do this. Don't go.
Yeah.
Sleep in later, and then if you start feeling better later in the day, go. But I mean, and it's kind of just like
you can't do that too much.
Yeah, of course, because you need to hold yourself accountable, and you need to know. Like,
but I don't think
yourself
like
is important.
you kind of know like if you're the type of person to do that too much. Like you won't do that too much. None of us are gonna do that too much.
No.
But like
Yes, we know people that will, of course.
Yeah. And for those people, it's not a bad thing.
Again,
still
that's
keep
just about
yourself-
knowing yourself. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a huge part of like growing up and just being in college, especially. Like you learn a lot more about yourself and like what you're like really bad at and what you're good at, and you know. you
I
work from
think
there.
that whole thing with like going to the you know, like, do I sleep in or do I go to the gym? I think it can also come down to like your motives, because like all of us, you know, we would do it because we're trying to get better at a sport. Someone else might do it because they're trying to look better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're trying to look better, it's a good motivator. I mean, I don't think that's a bad motivator,
No.
but like,
I just think it's different, you know.
yeah, I think if you're motivated to perform better, you're more likely to go than if you're motivated to look better.
Really, I
That's-
think if you're motivated to perform better, if you really know what you're doing, you're likely to. If you're a smart person, you're gonna be like, which I'm not. You're gonna be like, I need time off to
Yeah.
play well.
Yeah.
yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah.
We've been going for
difficult.
some.
We
time.
have been going for some
Yeah.
time. Yeah, this has been
Do
a
you
great
have any-
talk. I
yeah.
mean, anything you want to ask us or?
No, I liked it. It was fun.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you so much for coming on
Yeah,
and
thanks for coming on.
giving a lot of good advice. I wish you the best of luck at the U.S. Open next year and in your next season at Brown. It sounds like you're doing good things. So,
Thank you. Best
Yeah.
of luck to you
Yeah.
guys too.
Good.
of course.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys for watching.
Bye.